I was having a conversation with a business owner last week, and he asked me the difference between equity and equality. How would you describe the two, equity and versus equality?
I never use the term equity, and maybe I should. And I don't even use the term equality because they're sort of heavyweight terms. I think in terms of, you know, sort of fairness, and maybe that's not probably not linguistically current, but I just think about what it was like for some of my friends who had different circumstances than I had and how fair that is. And there's some fairness that's just built into the system, right? There's some unfairness that's built into the system, right? But then there's other unfairness that's structural that we intentionally put there. And that's the stuff that's, I think, the most concerning to me is when you've got, efforts that are sort of designed and devised to divide. They're purposely set up for the purposes of splitting us apart. And, I listen to some of the political rhetoric and I hear those words, the words of division. And that ain't healthy, right? And yet in St. Louis, quite frankly, division does benefit some people, right? So if you're in a segregated city, which we are, and you're on the right side of that line, life's pretty good. And you can ignore the stuff that's happening on the other side of the line. And I think in terms of fairness, or it's, and I don't always know what's fair, but these are problems I still wrestle with. I don't have clean answers.
Yeah. So I think about equality as sameness, treating everybody the same, no matter what. And equity recognizes that, as you pointed out so well, that we all start in different places. I grew up in the foster care system. That's a completely different place than most people. And so equity recognizes that each individual needs something different. So in my household, I have two kids. They're different. I don't treat them equally. I treat them equitably. I give them what they need to thrive and to be successful, and it's different for both of them.
Yeah, it's interesting, because on an individual basis you can do that. On a societal basis, you try to write laws and rules, right? But then the other thing you do is you have these unwritten rules, right? So I'm looking at Amy Sharp. She's a friend of mine. She's on this Zoom meeting with me. And when Amy and I were in school, blacks and whites didn't date. Like, that was pretty controversial. I had a friend, he was black, and he took a white girl to one of the dances, and people were talking about it. It was a big deal. These days, it's not a big deal. Somehow we've gotten over that in the last 30 years. But, there's still a lot of adhesions that we've got that are social, and they're still a big deal. But look, generally we're making progress. I just think St. Louis is not quite making enough progress. Like, I really wish we could get something going that took we got 100,000 people below the poverty line in our town. Like, what if we could somehow get those people a little more access, a little more fill in the blank, right?
Yeah.
Safety, security, fairness, opportunity, whatever. How would we as a region respond if we had 100,000 people who could be more productive? That'd be wonderful. I don't know how to do it, but it's worth talking.
Yeah, you said something that's so important. Equity is about access at its core. And, when it comes to predicting how long you will live, your zip code in St. Louis is more important than your genetic code. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.